Hey everybody, my name is Ota and welcome to the second part of the Playfab tutorial series. In this one I will cover how to set up basic currencies and gain currencies. I will not cover the premium part, meaning paying for currency with real money. That will come down the line. With that said, let's get right into it. The first thing we want to do is we want to go over to our economy, currency, and we want to make a new currency. And what we have here is a currency code, which is a 2-letter identification code, in the sense of we will, with this code, we can call the API and get specifics about the currency from the player. And down here we have a display name for that currency. Over here we have a initial deposit, a recharge rate, and a recharge maximum. So the recharge rate just tells how much a player can get every day from this currency, like automatically. So every day he gets this amount of currency. And the initial deposit is just how much the player has of that currency when he logs in or sets up an account. And yeah, so let's start with 2 currencies. One will be a premium currency, which will be a down the line tutorial, and one will be a available currency that the player can earn during gameplay. So let's just call our premium currency PC for premium currency, and the display name will just be premium currency. There you go. Then let's make a second currency, which is just GC for general currency. And you can make in Playfab up to 8 currencies from what I know in normal version. I don't know if you can go over that. I haven't looked into the general stuff for that. Now that we created those 2 currencies, we want to head back over into Unreal Engine, and I'm already in the UI folder. And what I'm gonna do first of all is I'm gonna do a login folder and move all those files just by clicking and shift clicking into the login folder. And I'm making a new folder, which is a main menu. And in this main menu, I'm gonna create a new widget blueprint. WBP stands for widget blueprint underscore, and what do we want to call it? It's probably just gonna be something very simple. Widget blueprint main. Main menu. So what we need now is a way to display our 2 currencies and a debug way for us right now to add more currencies. So what I'm gonna start with is I'm gonna get a vertical box, set this to take up the whole space, so just anchor to the top left, and then I'm gonna make a horizontal box, a vertical box, in another horizontal box, and set those 2 top ones to fill but 0.05, and the middle one just to fill on a 1. So now we split up our screen. What we're gonna do now is we wanna add a button, and what I'm gonna call this is a debug add currency. And the text on that, not test, but text on that will be currency. Add debug currency. There we go. And let's just click on clicked. Then on the top here, we want to have 2 text boxes. Also, I forgot something. I need to wrap this with a scale box, so the text stays uniform in scale. And let's just remove the padding to make it a bit bigger. And I added that. Yeah. So now I'm going on the top here, add 2 scale boxes, and add a spacer. Probably added the second scale box in the wrong one. Oh, I didn't add a second one. Okay, let's just add the second one. Take this over here, set those 2 to fill, set the spacer to fill, and set those 2 to 0.2. So now we have two fields on the top right where we can put our currency. And what we're gonna just simply do is add two text blocks to those. And now we're gonna rename those text blocks, text block premium currency, and text blocks free to play currency. And yeah, so we want to make those variables because we want to change those during runtime. So let's first make a event, custom event. And this custom event is gonna be get player currencies. And in this, we wanna just simply make two new inputs, which first will be our premium currency and the second one will be our free-to-play currency, premium currency, and yeah, let me just properly write it out. Premium currency, common currency. And what I'm just gonna simply do is I'm gonna take both these text boxes and I want to just set text. And then what I do with this is I'm gonna drag off this string and then drag out and add a append. So what an append does is we can append text to already existing text. In my case, I'm going to drag over the premium currency and also switches over to the premium currency one and suffix to this with a spacer APC. Then I do the same over here. Reroute this nicely so it looks nice, and take our common currency, plug this into our A pin, and now we can just common currency, there we go. So we have one premium currency and one common currency. So I'm gonna show in a second how that would look like. And add debug currency is already set up, right? Yes, right here. And what I want to do is on begin play, on construct, is I want to get game instance cast to GI main, our game instance, promote this to a variable, which is going to be ref underscore GI. And with this ref GI, I want to set up a event in a second. What I want to do next is, before I get into working on a game instance, I want to make a player controller and a game mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a player controller, which I'm going to call PC underscore main menu. And this PC main menu will deal with creating our widget and dealing with that stuff. And also will deal as a middle point to be called to and then forwarding information. So we have our player controller and not a widget, whoops, that was wrong. I want a game mode, which is under game mode base, and we're gonna call it GM underscore main menu. So now we take our player controller right here, save it, and then go into our completed login map, go into code, and drag and drop that into here. So now, whenever we enter this map, this game mode gets called, and with this, we can create our new widget. So in here, we can just go in here, we can call create widget, and the widget in question is gonna be main menu. There we go. And then we can just add to viewport. All right. And then actually we also want, let's just make this big, drag this a bit over here and promote this to a variable. The variable in question will be our ref main menu. With this ref main menu, we're just gonna plug it into add to viewport right here. And then we want a custom event in here. Actually, we can turn this into a function. Let's turn this into a function. Update player on update player currencies. There you go. With this, I'm gonna go to input, add two integers. One is premium currency and one is common currency. With those, we can call here up. How did I call it? Get player currencies. Get player currencies. There we go. And this way we have a reference to our GI main while we're in GI main. And now we can call this, and if it's getting called, it updates this UI. So let's get back into our code, our game instance main. And in here, what I want to do is I want to make a new custom event request currency. So in the call we want to do now is we want to get user inventory, and we want to make sure we take the client one, because if we take the server one, we would need to have our key registered, and we don't need the server one as long as we're just using the client. But I'm gonna go into server stuff in a second. So our on failure will just be our on failure we have been using up until now. So we want to add an event dispatcher and on failure custom data. There you go. We still get an error because we need to still make a request here. And on success, we want to add a custom event, and we're gonna call this unsuccessful currency gain. There we go. And from the result here, we wanna go ahead and break this. And we have a tab in here called virtual currency. So this is a JSON file. So what we want to do is we want to get a variable out of the JSON. So what we can just do is we can get number field, and we can get 2 of those. Oops. All right. And then we can get player controller cast to PC main menu, because this is only important information if the player is actually in the main menu. So if he's not in the main menu, this should never be called pretty much, and we don't really care about it. I could actually technically set it up here, but I'm gonna set it down here. And with this PC main menu cast, we wanna call our function, which we made here, on update player currency. So what I'm gonna do, on update player currency. And I need to really quickly look at my shortcodes. So it's GC and PC. Drag those into here. Drag those over a bit. And what we want to do here now is, after our menu here got created, we want to request currency. With this, we should get 2 0 values. So let me just go into my test map, log in. Oops. Oh, I don't have the user, so let me just really quickly look up the user. So one thing I really quickly did is I went into my widget blueprint login, and I selected one of those login fields, and what I did is I added a little bit of code which just pretty much sets my defaults. I made a variable here which is called default, which has its instance editable and is exposed on spawn. And what it does, it pretty much just sets a default value on spawn and sets the custom text. This is just for debugging because I don't want to always retype my stuff in. So, and also on Widget Blueprint login, what I did here in this login button, I made this enabled. Just make sure you just remove this code later when you publish any of your builds. This is just useful for debugging. So let me click play. Let me log in. And now we can see we have 0 CC and 0 PC. Now we can just open up our Playfab, go to players, go to my OTDev account, or whatever account you're using, go to virtual currency, go to general currency, and what we can do is we can just manually change currency. In my case, I'm just gonna set this to 750 and set my premium currency to 150 and just save this. Now, if I click login, we can see we have proper currencies. So we have 1750 right here and 150 right here. All right, so let's just get into how we can manually add more currency. So the first I want to actually make a change to my main menu. So we're just gonna close other tabs here, close those two. And I actually want two buttons at premium currency, want to select that button, add premium currency. There we go, and just unclicked. So we have add debug currency and we have add premium currency. So now what we want to do is we want to make a custom event in the game instance. And in here, we want to call a custom event add currency and a custom event add premium currency. With those two done, I'm gonna really quickly head over into Playfab, go to automation, revisions, and what I want to do is I pretty much want to get rid of everything in here because we're not going to use it. And what I want to do is I want to add two more events, one for add player currency and add player premium currency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type handlers dot add player common currency. That is equal to a function with our input parameters, which are args and context. Then I'm just gonna add curly brackets followed by a semicolon. And in here, I'm gonna do server dot add user virtual currency. Then what we need to type in here is we need to get our player ID. So first of all, I'm gonna type in player ID because that's our key. And current player ID. There we go. And then virtual currency, not cultural, sorry, currency. Sorry about that. Virtual currency colon GC for general, PC for premium currency. Is it premium? No, it's common. Did I call it? Need to check really quickly how I called it, like how I prefixed it. Let me just really quickly go to economy, check really quickly, and the prefix is GC. So we need to type in our prefix. Like I said earlier, it's a identifier for getting the right getting the right code to add currency to that specific identifier. And then we can just set amount, and then we can set a number here. In my case, I'm just gonna add 500. And now I'm gonna take this, make a copy of it, and instead of add common currency, add premium currency, and it's gonna be PC and the same amount. Oh, not player ID, player. There we go. Then what I'm gonna just do, save as revision 2, deploy this revision after save. So we right now deploy the revision right now. Yeah, so save and deploy. There we go. Now I have those two events, so let's just set them up in UE4. So we go back to our our GI main. And what we want to call here is a execute cloud script. And in our case, we need 2 of those. Our failure dispatcher can just go into create event on failure, which we can just do for both of these. There you go. No, that's not what I want. There you go. And on success, we can just make a custom event for both of them, which is gonna be on currency change. There you go. And on currency change, we wanna call our on success currency again. There you go. You just wanna call not unsuccessful currency gain, request currency. So request currency. There you go. So what we want to do with those two now up here, we want to provide this with some data. So we want to make a struct in here. And here we see function name. And we made 2 functions. Right here we have add player premium currency and add player common currency. So if I copy this name over right here, and if I copy this name over into our premium one, now if we would call them, they should be working. So let's just go ahead and go back into our main menu, and we have those 2 buttons there. So add currency and add premium currency. So now let's check out if that worked out. So let's click play, login, and add debug currency. Something doesn't work. Let me get into that and fix that really quickly. So I just saw my mistake. It's not player ID, it's Playfab ID. So let's change that for both of them. Save as revision 3, and we want to deploy it right away. So if we go ahead and now replay, I reset the currency also so I can actually see it better. So there we go. Now it works. We can see we can add premium currency, we can add debug currency, and that's pretty much the basic setup. Now, talking about this is not secure, and if you launch any kind of game, you shouldn't do your code this way. What you would normally do is you would run this stuff on a server and provide the server with a player ID after a game, and then you call the server with the authentication code and then give the player an amount. So let's just get into this, how we will do this. Back at our cloud code, what we want to do is we want to make a new function in here which deals with getting the player ID, because I haven't found a real good way otherwise to get the player ID. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a handlers dot get player playfab ID and function, then our arguments, and then our context. There you go. And what we want to do in here is we want to just return player ID colon current player ID. Is it capitalized? No, it's not capitalized. All right. So we can save this as version 4 and apply it right after. So what this pretty much does, we're gonna get our player ID, which in my case would be, if I go here, it would be this number. This is my player ID. So let's go into it, how to actually use this. So what we want to do now is we made a new function, but we're not using it anywhere. So what we want to do is we want to get a new custom event, and what we want to call this custom event is get player ID. And we only want to call this once, but I'm still going to turn this into a custom function just so if we have to recall this for security measures, we can just easily recall this. So I'm going to take this function here, put this over here. And on failure, I want the same. I want to just create a object, create event, and this event on failure. And on success, I want a custom event. And this custom event is gonna be called on receive player ID. Then instead of add player common currency, I'm gonna go back to economy currency. Not economy currency, I'm gonna go back to automation, revisions, and get player ID by Playfab ID. Get player Playfab ID, that's what I wanted to say. And in our result, we're gonna break it again, and we can pretty much do this over here. But in this time, we want to actually take something from a function. So we wanna get string field. And our string field name is gonna be player ID. Player ID. So let's just really quickly do a print string and show that this function works. So after we logged in, so let's move this a bit around, make this a bit more clear. So login user and register user. And what do we want to call after this? Get player ID, like this. There we go. So and with this, if we click play, and if we click login, we should receive our player ID. Okay, I did something wrong. Give me 1 second. One quick thing, my mistake was actually in my revisions. If I reload this ID needs to be lowercase. So if you have it uppercase, it won't work. And if I click play now and log in, it will work fine. There you go. Everything loads, my player ID loads, and it works. This will just be a short example. This is not just like, oh, you have to do it this way. It's just as an example for those people who want to work a bit ahead or are working on their own projects and are looking for some way to properly implement this. So first of all, in GI main, let's drag this over here. Go over where we do the player ID, promote this to a variable, and this is gonna be player ID. All right. And after we log in, so after we log in, let's remove those. I want to call a custom event, but before that, I need to go into my content, add a new folder. This is going to be a data folder, everything from structs and all that stuff. And what we want to do is we want to make a blueprint struct S for struct underscore player server data. And for this example, I won't have much. I will have my PC main menu. This is ref player controller. And the second thing will be a string, which will be my player ID. So, and let's say we go in our code and make a new game mode, which will be GM_server. So we have this game mode here. For now, I'm just gonna fill it with my stuff here. And in this GM server, what I want to do is I want to take that struct as server player server data, and I want to turn this into an array, and this is going to be called all players. Also, with this player struct, you can also add like kills, deaths, and all that, and later with the struct just calculate how many points the player will get. But you can do that on your own, and I also gonna make a more detailed tutorial later down the line when I actually go over how to set up servers and all that stuff. But for now, I'm gonna keep it very simple for those who want to work ahead. So what we have here now is our player controller. And what we want to do now is we want to get game instance cast to our GI main, promote this to a variable, and then this is going to be ref_GI main. And with this, I want to make a custom event, which is going to be run on server, and this is going to be forward player details, run on server and reliable, and we're going to call forward. I actually have that in the wrong position. I need that right down here. And then we call RS forward player details. There we go. No, we need this up here. I'm sorry, I'm a bit, yeah. So what we need here is a player ID. There we go. And in here, we can just provide a string, a player ID. I put this in here, do this. So with this, we're gonna call from the client the player control server version so we can get in contact with our GM server. So get game mode cast to GM server. All right. Then in GM server, we will need something we pretty much already set up, but on the client. So we want to take the set Playfab settings, and what you will need to do on your own project is you need to include the Playfab secret key. Otherwise, this stuff won't work. And make sure you don't package this build with this player settings stuff for the public. This should just be for your own builds and for your own project, not for a public build. Because you should not include the player secret in a public server build. If you want to make player servers, you can also do that, but make sure to not include the Playfab API secret key in here. Okay, so we're on begin play. You wanna just drag this into here. All right, and then we want a function which is gonna be called add new player, and this add new player function is gonna be have a player PC main menu reference ref player and a player ID. There we go. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna loop through all the ones we already have here. And what we want to do is we want to check if any of them equal to each other, because we don't want to double add a thing. So We don't want to add something twice. Oops, let's unhook this. Let's check if this is this. So then we go do a OR boolean. And if any of those are both true, finding themselves, we don't want to do anything. But if we go through the stack and don't find anything, what we want to do is we want to add. And what we want to add is just simply, oops, not a variable, but our player reference and our player ID. So what are we doing? We are doing some prevention from adding accounts accidentally twice. So we go through this and make sure that the account doesn't have any things twice in it. So we don't have twice the same player controller or twice the same player ID. All right. And what I want to also do is down here, I want to make a custom event, and I'm going to call this end game. And I'm going to probably just add a delay of like 5 seconds and then call end game. All right. So with this done now, I want to head back to my player controller and then call add player, add new player. And then I want to just get a reference to self. So we have a reference to this player controller, and the player ID can just be put in here. So yeah, so this player ID goes in here, adds the user, and then on end game, what we want to do is for each loop. And then we're gonna just call a very, very simple function, which is pre-built in Playfab. And this is called add user virtual currency, add user virtual currency. So normally we would go for the client stuff, but this is the server stuff. So the Playfab ID is gonna be our Playfab ID. The amount, like I already said, you can just go with a static amount for every player to get after a game, but or you can just do your math over here, do your calculations, do your like, oh, this guy has gotten this and this and this kills, so we just do some simple math. Like I said, you can just add more data to this and just populate this on the game mode. And yeah, but I won't do this just out of simplicity reasons. And how did I shortcode my currency? Let me just look really quickly. Economy, currency. I want to just add GC, and I want to add 200 GC on success. On add currency, and we can just do a simple print string. Successfully added currency. And on failure, we can just do an event dispatcher. And not an event dispatcher, just a custom event. Adding failed, and just do a print string. And just take the error and do a append over here. And the thing I'm gonna just take is error code and our error name. Actually, error message. There you go. So we have some simple stuff to catch some errors. All right. So just making double sure that everything worked. So in here, we forward player details, we add a new player. Yeah, that should be working. And now I just need to take my GM server, go to complete login. So GM server, and now go back here, go to test map, and I should get an error, but if I just get that error, I know everything else is working. So if I click login, So now it's a few seconds till, there we go, not authenticated. This means everything else worked, just the authentication didn't work. And I will be right back. To get your actual player secret, which I'm just gonna set up while offline, you need to go over here, click on here, title seconds, and then secret key, and just paste the secret key that is already visible there. So before I get into everything else I did, I had to do a little bit of a workaround because I completely forgot that I instantly joined the lobby, which means I didn't have the player details set up yet. So what I did is I got the player ID, I got the delay, and then I opened the level, which I did on register success, on login success, just so we have enough time to, when we join, for this to actually grab this player ID and then call this function here, which adds the new player. Also, I have the secret right here. I added the secret, and make sure you only run this on your own servers. If you want to do the currency via server via the other way I already explained, make sure to use the way I explained earlier. Like if you want public servers but also give clients some currency, use the other way. But instead of actually include a variable in it, if people want to see how you can actually forward variable to functions in Playfab, you can just write down in the comments below and I will do a tutorial on this. But what I do is I set a Playfab ID, I add a delay of 5 seconds, and then I end the game. And in the GI main, after logging in, I wait to I get the play ID, I wait 2 seconds, I open the level. Later on, this doesn't matter anymore if you log in normally. If you just log in, it all automatically will call this. But because I instantly transition and then start my GM server logic, it doesn't have time to grab the variable. All right. So if we now click play, click login. There we go. And now we see we are logged in. And now any second, here we go. We got an OK. So now if we click play, log in, we should have 400 currency. And it worked. We can add currency over the server, over the network. And if anybody has any questions, make sure just to head over to the Discord. If you want to support this tutorial series financially, we also have a Patreon. If you have any questions, make sure to ask them. I'll be sure I'll try to answer them as best as I can. But with this said, I wish you all a great day, and yeah, have a nice day.